Hi there, I'm the Mythkeeper. Welcome back to my channel, the best place on the internet for Pathfinder lore and history. This week on the Mythkeeper, we're doing another one of my region deep dives, and we're talking all about the city-state of Goka. Now, originally, if you go back to my Tian Xia overview guide, I sort of broke down the sequence with which I was going to tackle the various successor states, so the various kingdoms of Tian Xia, and I'd originally planned to do a video about Goka, Lingshan, and Songbai all in one video. And then, as I started to work through the Goka content, I realized that Goka is so rich in history. It's like the most detailed part of Tian Xia by far. There's a bunch of adventures that are set in and around there. There's a bunch of supporting Pathfinder Society content. It sits at the heart of a lot of Tian Xia content. Also, just I think geographically, it sort of functions like the Tian Xia version of like Singapore in the real world, where it's a powerful independent city-state, and it was very well positioned to be the primary place of trade between the West and the East, and so Goka just started to fill out an entire region deep dive by itself. So I've readjusted, I've recalibrated a bit. My next Tian Xia video will be about Lingshan, Songbai, and Quain, and those three will be grouped together as the central successor states. And I think that'll be a really cool video. But this week, we're talking just about Goka. Goka gets its own region deep dive. I think this is a really fun one. This is a place that's more closely connected with the rest of the Galarian world than a lot of the rest of Tian Xia, which feels a little more inwardly focused. This is, I think, a place, if you're going to Tian Xia, this is probably a place that you're going to be visiting. So, should be a fun one.
Goka is the great independent city-state of Tian Xia, so vast and complex as to be worth its own region deep dive. A city and a nation at the same time, it stands as a vast and vibrant metropolis, the beating heart of western Tian Xia's commerce, culture, and intrigue. Nestled along the calm waters of Zhuhong Bay, it is the continent's premier international port and financial hub, where the wealthy and influential meet and intermingle. The city's harbor teems with ships bearing goods from Avestan, Casmaran, and beyond, while its streets bustle with traders, laborers, and aristocrats alike. Amidst the glittering palaces and towering skyscrapers, opulence and hardship exist side by side, creating a city both dazzling and demanding. With an extremely large population for the world of Galarian of almost 500,000 people, including numerous first-generation immigrants, Goka is a melting pot and one of the most diverse places in all of Tian Xia. The city's architecture is a breathtaking fusion of influences: towering Tianshu apartments, resplendent Heifeng temples, and Casman-influenced bathhouses, each sharing city blocks, reflecting centuries of shifting cultural tides. Goka's citizens have embraced this dynamic existence, knowing that in their city, ambition and risk define the sweetest of lives. The history of Goka. Goka's origins trace back to the period of the Yixing Empire, the first great and enduring empire of Tian Xia that followed the Earthfall Cataclysm. At the time of the rise to power of Ao Lin, the first dragon emperor of Yixing, it was a mere coastal hamlet, battered by typhoons and earthquakes. The city's fate changed in 1503 of the imperial calendar, with the signing of the Ivory Accord. The Ivory Accord was a treaty signed between the Yixing Empire and Nagajor, leading to recognized borders and trade agreements between the humans of the north and the snakefolk of the south. The period of peace that followed the signing of these accords spurred merchant exploration and led to the founding of what was then called the Ivory Port, which still exists in some form in the city of Goka today, as a kind of historical harbor district. At this time, traders from all nations of Tian Xia established private docks here, bringing settlers who built inns, workshops, and marketplaces. Over time, the Ivory Port grew into a flourishing trade hub, attracting fortune-seekers and visionaries. The fate of the small independent Ivory Port would change again about 1,000 years later. In 2813, the architect and Abadarn priest Zizan Xiao arrived in the Ivory Port, fleeing Yixing due to some false embezzlement charges. Inspired by the city's potential, he stayed to lead numerous ambitious construction projects, bridges, canals, and bulwarks that transformed the bustling outpost into a thriving metropolis. 13 years after Xiao arrived in Goka, in 2826, Empress Yin, the puppet empress of the immortal dragon Ao Lin of the Yixing Empire, came to visit Goka, with a vast military entourage. It is known that many of those Zaizhen Xiao had left behind in Yixing did not wish him well, and that the advisors of Empress Yin wanted him arrested for having had the audacity to build the City of Wonders beyond the borders of mighty Yixing. Luckily for Zai, Empress Yin is said to have fallen in love with the city, thus sparing him from imprisonment and allowing its continued independence from the great hegemony of central Tian Xia. However, only 3 years after her visit, in 2829, Zai fell to his death from one of the towers of the recently built Seven Dragons Bridge, with many suspecting foul play at the hands of the agents of Yixing even to this day. Despite his untimely demise, his legacy would ultimately endure, effectively giving birth to the modern city-state of Goka. Since then, Goka has weathered the rise and fall of empires. It was temporarily conquered by the Empire of Yixing in 3089, but after Yixing's dissolution in 5576, it regained its independence. Independence didn't mean it was an easy period for the Great Port. The city faced turmoil in the wake of the Yixing collapse, with refugees and rogue warlords both threatening its stability. In 5580, a disguised sky dragon named Kui Yan Helion orchestrated Goka's alliance with Jiao Deng Shu, a rebel leader who ultimately established the Empire of Shu, the successor empire to mighty Yixing in 5601. However, Shu's rule was plagued by nepotism, and Goka thrived in spite of his leadership rather than because of it. When his empire collapsed in 6536, the city descended into a century of political intrigue and conflict. 6 years later, in this period of independence for Goka, in 6542, a girl named Hao Jin was born there to an Abadarn priestess and a painter who emphasized the importance of both study and creativity in her life. As a youth, she was captivated by history and spent much of her time in the renowned Empress Yin Museum. One day, when she was only in her teenage years, a bout of reckless play led to a fire that devastated the museum and claimed her life. Hao Jin's parents spent most of their modest fortune to pay for the expensive material components required to attempt a resurrection spell, something which ultimately worked, and in so doing awakened a spark of magical potential within her. This sorceress bloodline of the Phoenix made her raven hair turn bright red, shimmering like fire. After her resurrection, Hao Jin felt overwhelmed with guilt for her role in the museum's loss and her parents' financial hardships, so she dedicated her life to protecting the world's culture from destruction. Meanwhile, the Warring States period of central Tianxia would last from the fall of the Empire of Shu in 6536 to the reunification of central Tianxia by the warlord Wenwu Zheng of the province of Lunghua, who by 6642 had united 10 of the 16 original kingdoms of Shu. Crowning himself emperor, Wenwu declared Lunghua to be the successor of the Empire of Shu. 8 years after the Empire of Lunghua ascended to power in central Tianxia, in 6650, Lunghua's emperor sent General Na Yufei and her elite butterfly blades to demand Goka's submission. When negotiations faltered, the assassins massacred the city's leaders in the infamous Scarlet Roof Tile Massacre, and Goka fell under Lunghua's rule. Lunghua heavily taxed Goka to fund the empire's military. A particularly harsh tea tax bankrupted many farmers, and resentment brewed in the tea houses, where bitter tea makers relayed their struggles. Some had expressed their desires for change, and perhaps there was some talk of revolution as well. Whatever the case was, by 6832, Lunghua had rounded up and executed many of those Gokan tea makers and their patrons as suspects of undisclosed high crimes. At the time of Goka's conquest by Lunghua and the subsequent political turmoil that followed, the red-haired sorceress Hao Jin of Goka was 108 years old. But she had stopped aging normally in her middle years, thanks to the sorceress bloodline that connected her to the power of a phoenix. In fact, she had grown to be such a famous figure in the city of Goka that she was rarely addressed as Hao Jin anymore, but more commonly called the Ruby Phoenix. Hao Jin feared the coming of Lunghua, and saw in the conquest of Goka that such a power might slowly destroy the very things she had devoted her life to protecting: history, ancient works of art, and various other artifacts of culture and heritage. Yet in spite of her vast magical power and centuries of study, she did not consider herself a warrior, and she dared not confront the lords of Lunghua directly. Instead, the Ruby Phoenix drew on all her power to create her masterpiece, the famed Hao Jin tapestry. Woven together from her magic, creativity, and skill, the tapestry contained a demi-plane that the Ruby Phoenix intended to use as a kind of museum world, allowing her to pluck places and people at risk of destruction to preserve forever within magically regulated biomes. The Ruby Phoenix soon decided she needed to depart from Goka to travel Tian Xia and later the world, preserving various treasures of the ancient world, which she deemed to be under threat. Although Hao Jin felt her mission was important enough to leave Goka to go and do, leaving Goka was actually quite difficult for her. The people of the city loved her, and the conquest of Lunghua had left them nervous about their future. Moreover, before she made the tapestry, Hao Jin herself had not done that much traveling, and she feared death at the hands of the many powerful forces she might encounter on her travels. She also worried about the private collection of rare treasures she had already accumulated in her home in Goka. So, to put her mind at ease before she left, Hao Jin made an arrangement with the Temple of Abadar in Goka and handed over her collection. She told them that if she did not return to the temple after a decade and a day, then she would be declared dead, and a competition of martial skill should be held every decade in her honor after that date. Under supervision from the clergy of Abadar, the greatest combatants of the age would compete for fame and glory of emerging the ultimate warrior. The victor would then choose a single item as a final prize from Hao Jin's expansive collection. In this way, she felt even if the worst should happen, the citizens of her homeland would remember her, and also that Temple of Abadar would have cause to protect her collection as well. In 6891, the travels of the Ruby Phoenix had taken her beyond the mortal realm altogether. After stopping in Goka to visit with friends and family, she departed for destinations even stranger than any that might be found on Galarian, eventually arriving in the eternal city of Axis. See my planar guide video, The Heavens, for more details on Axis. Although she had once dreamed of collaborating with the brilliant Axiomites and Eons who resided there, Hao Jin instead found herself reprimanded by these creatures, who deemed the creation of the Hao Jin tapestry a threat to planar stability. The city of cities called for the tapestry's destruction, but Hao Jin struck a bargain to save it. She offered to become an agent of the Eternal City in exchange for its preservation. Axis agreed, and thus Hao Jin disappeared from Galarian and would not be seen again in the mortal world for at least 300 years. By 6901, it had been 10 years to the day since the Ruby Phoenix had last checked in with the Temple of Abadar, as she was now committed to supporting the work of the Eons and the god-mind of Axis and the Great Beyond. The Temple of Abadar declared her dead, and as per her wishes, the first ever decennial Ruby Phoenix tournament was held in Goka in her honor. About 100 years after Hao Jin's presumed death in 7106, with the death of prophecy and the collapse of the Lunghua Empire, Empress Naiju Chao, a direct blood descendant of Empress Na Yufei, restored Gokan independence, allowing the city to reclaim its unique and age-old identity as the great Tian city-state of the West. In 7219, Axis released Hao Jin as part of the first edition Season 10 Pathfinder Society adventure series, especially the adventure The Tapestry's Trial. A mere 2 years after this, the Pathfinder 2nd edition Fists of the Ruby Phoenix adventure path took place right here in Goka. This video will contain no spoilers for that adventure, but naturally Hao Jin, the Ruby Phoenix, is a major player in that story. This brings us to today. Goka has found common ground with its new eastern neighbor, the Kingdom of Quain, but Goka maintains a fragile peace with its other easterly neighbor, Lingshen. The steady flow of goods and travelers into Goka via overland routes have provided Lingshen's economy with valuable tolls and tariffs, benefiting its ports and overall economy. However, Goka's prosperity also has fueled Lingshen's territorial ambitions. For now, though, the return of Hao Jin and the recent death of King Huang have subsided such expansionist aspirations, keeping direct conflict at bay, at least for the time being. Thus Goka remains for now a free city of contradictions, ancient yet modern, disciplined yet chaotic, wealthy yet dangerous. It is a city-state of endless opportunity, where fortunes are made and lost in a heartbeat. Those who dare to embrace its risks may find themselves among the city's legends, while others fade into obscurity or get quietly eliminated by the city's powerful crime lords. The government of Goka. Goka is a parliamentary republic that might at first glance appear to be a parliamentary monarchy instead. The reason for this confusion lies in the nature of its complex parliamentary system. The parliament itself consists of two bodies: the 54 seats of the foundation stones, permanent seats for nobility, religious leaders, business tycoons, and academics, and the 54 seats of the ridge boards, 5-year elected seats for influential citizens. Overseeing this parliament is the parliamentary leader, elected every 25 years with the title of emperor, empress, or liege. While technically a mediator, the figure wields significant cultural and political influence. Moreover, the title of the Liege of Goka has been held by the Nai family more or less continuously since the Lunghua conquest of 6650, which means they are now a 200-year-old dynasty in the city. The Empress of Goka is frequently misinterpreted, both within and beyond Goka, as being monarchical rather than elected. This misconception has only grown in recent years due to the circumstances surrounding the current Empress, Lady Naiyan Fei. A shrewd and enigmatic woman, Lady Fei inherited the title from her grandfather, Emperor Nai Hubo, after his unexpected midterm death, a succession made possible by a legal technicality. Despite this unusual path to power, she has since solidified her authority, becoming one of Goka's most widely respected and influential empresses in modern times. Lady Fei's rising influence is bolstered by the timely return of the legendary Ruby Phoenix, Hao Jin. When Hao Jin returned to Goka after her long exile in the Great Beyond, she swiftly met with the would-be Empress of Goka. Apparently, the two found a good deal of common ground, and had a shared desire to see Goka regain its significant geopolitical standing, much of which it had lost under the hard years of Lunghua rule. Hao Jin's support has strengthened Empress Fei's claim to the liege's throne. As a renowned sorceress of immense power and storied history, Hao Jin has lent an air of destiny to Lady Fei's rule, and the two formidable women have swiftly forged a strong alliance. Although prior to her disappearance, Hao Jin herself had no particular role in the government of Goka, since her return she has been elected to the Ridge Board by unanimous vote. With the board seat and as a member of parliament, Hao Jin now has a more active role in the fate and future of Goka than she ever had before. Yet despite her accolades and supernatural prowess, it is said Hao Jin often wrestles with a profound sense of isolation. Her lingering guilt about mistakes she has made in her past, too cosmic and mind-bending to share with the mortals she has now surrounded herself with, compounded by the fragmented memories left in the wake of her eon-spanning existence, weigh heavily upon her. The age-old rivalries and unsettled debts of fellow archmages have only further dimmed the once radiant ease of her smile. Fortunately, the Ruby Phoenix is not without companionship. Two unlikely yet steadfast friends strive to bring warmth and levity into her life. One is the intensely earnest Chu, an astute kitsune barrister. Chu was a former brigand, now determined to mend war-torn Tian communities. Abandoning banditry for the law, Chu serves as Hao Jin's parliamentary assistant. While their official duties involve note-taking and scheduling, they have also taken it upon themselves to shield the sorceress from the machinations of opportunists and social climbers who have been eager to exploit her. Equally sharp-witted and self-assured is Bao Ting, a Yaoguai comb spirit who has been a constant presence in Hao Jin's life for centuries. Originally a fine-toothed comb of red fur inlaid with rose gold and spinel, Bao Ting was a cherished gift from Hao Jin's parents in recognition of her academic achievements. By all rights, the comb should have perished in the same Empressian museum fire that claimed Hao Jin's life, yet by some cosmic twist of fate it remained unscathed. When Hao Jin was reborn, her fiery sorcery manifested in the transformation of her hair into living flame, and the comb, too, was irrevocably altered, becoming the dawn-red, fire-tongued Bao Ting. More than just a relic of the past, Bao Ting is both a tangible link to Hao Jin's lost family and her oldest surviving friend. On the more mundane front, Hao Jin's first major initiative was to spearhead the development of the Cliffside Court, to which the Grand Arena for the Ruby Phoenix tournament was relocated for the 72-21 tournament. Hao Jin is not the only influential member of the Ridge Boards. Other board members of note include Jijigu, an expressive and flamboyant Wayang artist who has swiftly established herself as an essential voice in Parliament within just 2 years. A celebrated local poet, the silver-tongued Minatan possesses an uncanny ability to pierce through the heart of very divisive social issues, wielding her fluency in nearly every Tian dialect with masterful precision. Mina Hellion, a cleric of Shizuru, who has stepped into the role of the Ridge Board's Drake Master seat. A passionate advocate for Goka's bound drakes, Hellion has swiftly made their presence known as a determined voice for change. Their colleagues assume their fluency in Draconic as a result of decades of rigorous study, but some have started to suspect the truth, however, that Hellion might be part dragon themselves, to possess such an extensive knowledge of Goka's historical ties with the creatures, a jest that never fails to bring a quiet smile to the Drake speaker's face. Hellion is of course a sky dragon, and a descendant of the famous sky dragon that helped found the Shu Empire so long ago. Of course, the Ridge Board seats are temporary positions of power that a candidate needs to be re-elected into every 5 years. Often more influential are the 54 seats of the Foundation Stones, those parliamentary members that have permanent lifetime appointments to the Gokan government. Among the most powerful of the stones is Goten Musashi. Goten acquired his seat only 3 years ago in a stunning and unprecedented election that left Parliament reeling. It was Lady Fay that cast the decisive tie-breaking vote to award a vacant Foundation Stone seat to the Golden League, Goka's most infamous crime syndicate. Whispers of blackmail and corruption briefly stirred among the assembly, but were swiftly silenced under Lady Fay's unyielding gaze. Still, there is no doubt that every vote Goten casts is dictated by the unseen hands of the Golden League's elusive leadership, and the Golden League has only grown in power since Goten acquired his seat. The culture of Goka. Gokens are renowned for their confidence and quick wit, excelling in both thought and action. A game of chance is a great way to forge a connection with a Goken. For Gokens, the excitement of competition isn't solely about winning, but about watching how fate unfolds in dramatic ways. Humans here make up about 80% of Goka's population, with Tian Xia being the dominant ethnic group. The rest of the population is divided fairly evenly among other prominent Tian Xia ancestries, including Nagajis, Tengus, Kitsunes, Samsarans, and Wyangs. Life in Goka can differ vastly depending on an individual's wealth, profession, and beliefs. However, certain traits define the quintessential Gokan lifestyle. Gambling. In Goka, gambling is much more than a pastime, it's a way of life. Visitors may be shocked to see complete strangers wagering on everyday matters, but despite its casual appearance, gambling is also the most heavily regulated activity in the city. Annual government-issued manuals detail the precise rules and legal standing of bets, and licensed gambling establishments are expected to follow these strict guidelines. Gambling disputes are the most common civil cases in Goka, ranging from small arguments over sums as small as a gold piece to year-long battles over entire family fortunes. The city boasts over 1,000 gambling houses, many of which employ notaries, professional witnesses, and even court magistrates to oversee the proceedings. Despite its ubiquity, personal restraint in gambling is highly valued as well. Many residents follow strict personal limits, such as walking away after losing a set amount, or only betting once every few days. Some temples, like the gentle and resolute House of Irori, offer programs for those struggling with gambling addiction, which are valued and respected by the community. Additionally, many gambling establishments also offer the same popular games enjoyed throughout the city without any betting involved. In Goka, the saying, "ignorance leads to exploitation," holds great weight, and the Parliament ensures that every young Gokan has access to quality education. Public schools, often free or subsidized, follow a standardized 6-year curriculum covering languages, mathematics, geography, finance, and civics. After primary education, students typically transition to specialized trade schools or prestigious universities. Those with magical aptitude apply to the prestigious 5 Pillars Academy, although most fall short and end up at one of the many other magical schools scattered across the city. Another highly selective school, the Court of the Willow branch, is the primary source of Goka's government officials, diplomats, and civil servants. It was founded during Lunghua's reign and admits no more than 99 students each year. The admission process is notoriously grueling, requiring candidates to complete a month-long entrance exam. Arts and entertainment. Goka's high culture is often associated with the Three Friends, trendsetters who have shaped the city's artistic scene. These are Rosin Entertainment's The Bamboo Walkway and the Plum Blossom Assembly. Rosin Entertainment writes many of the city's most popular musical pieces, with their emerging talent performances drawing large, passionate crowds. The Bamboo Walkway is home to numerous textile suppliers and clothing houses, all competing to set the next big fashion trends. Recently, animated embroidery designs have become all the rage, with Frozen Meteor, a boutique run by the stern Soniri Munar, spearheading the trend. The Plum Blossom Assembly is a secretive group of critics and publishers. Their anonymous reviews, published weekly in With Wine and Pleasure, cover architecture, books, cuisine, art, and much more. A mention from the Plum Blossoms can make or break a business, while the absence of a review can consign a venture to obscurity. Factions in Goka. The Alley Bashers. Like any large city, Goka has its darker side. While many industries that are illegal elsewhere, especially the trade of drugs, weapons, and poisons, are somewhat legal in capitalistic Goka, such industries are heavily regulated, which has in turn fostered a robust black market and provided ample work for the city's numerous thieves' guilds. The streets are rife with pickpockets, con artists, pushy vendors, swindlers, and a growing number of beggars as well. But the worst of these offenders are gangs of tattooed criminals known as alley bashers, specialized in muggings and other forms of targeted violence. Among them, the Dragon Fang stand out as the most notorious. This powerful and well-organized group is rumored to wield occult magic. using their draconic tattoos to animate and empower them in battle. The Alley-Bashers work closely with various evil cults that have emerged in the undermarket as well, particularly those devoted to Lamashtu, Lady Nanbyo, and Fumeyoshi. These cults remain a constant threat, and the government of Goka works tirelessly to try to root them out of the city. The Butterfly Blades. The Butterfly Blades are a deadly order of assassins, and they function as Goka's secret police. Dressed in yellow robes and steeped in a tradition that traces back to the empire of Yixing, they are renowned for their unmatched skill with the butterfly sword. Their training transforms them into whirlwinds of destruction, capable of striking down foes with grace and precision. They are also adept at using the sword to deliver agonizing wounds, making their attacks both lethal and excruciating. With a heritage that dates back to the infamous Scarlet Roof Massacre, the Butterfly Blades have long maintained a close association with the noble Nai family, now led by Empress Nai Yanfei herself. The Blades often operate as an extension of her own will, operating from the shadows to quietly eliminate the Empress's enemies and help maintain order among the city's volatile nobility. It is said that to join their ranks, an aspiring recruit must first defeat a current member of the order in a sanctioned duel, proving their worth and skill before earning the right to train under the deadly tradition of the Butterfly Blades. The Golden League. The Golden League was originally founded in Mingkai over 200 years ago, through the merger of a merchant house and a thieves' guild. However, its headquarters has long since moved to the city-state of Goka, where it has since thrived. It is an organization dedicated to manipulating both legal and illicit markets for wealth and power. After the collapse of Minkai's economy, they proved how resilient and resourceful they could be by resurfacing in the great western city, where they adapted their methods, using bribery, extortion, threats, and assassinations to subtly influence the markets there. The League now consists of many powerful families and are spread out all across Tian Xia. Each cell of the League is supported by an elite force of feared warriors and assassins known as the Shun. These warriors are feared throughout Goka and beyond. Once on payroll, recruits into the ranks of the Shun receive a signing bonus and a League-leased apartment in expectation of compounding those earnings. The Golden League follows a flat, decentralized structure, with each branch acting independently under the guiding principle of growth at all costs. This design insulates the organization, ensuring that if one branch falls, the others remain unaffected. It also fosters internal competition, allowing for power struggles between branches while safeguarding the League as a whole. As technology has advanced, so too has the Golden League embraced these changes, seizing opportunities to sell new innovations, such as Huanggot's iron ships. The Golden League's influence in Goka has grown dramatically in the last 3 years as Goten Muzoshi, a prominent Golden League lord, has acquired a permanent parliamentary seat on the foundation stones. The Pathfinder Society. As Tian Xia's westernmost port, Goka became the first city in Tian Xia to host a lodge of the Pathfinder Society. Indeed, the Lantern Lodge, as it is called, is a unique presence within the society, as it operates as a network of lodges dispersed across Tian Xia, rather than as a single lodge. This is reflective of the fact that the Pathfinder Society's influence across Tian Xia is much weaker than it is back in the Inner Sea. Leading from her primary lodge in the city-state of Goka, Venture Captain Amara Li serves as the primary liaison between the various Tian lodges and the Pathfinder Society leadership in Absalom. Amara's history with the Society dates back to 7211, or 4711 by Inner Sea reckoning, when Amara first journeyed to Absalom and negotiated with the Decemvirate to gain the requisite permits to open the lodge in Goka. Her new lodge welcomed Society agents and became a bridge between Tian Xia and the Inner Sea. Having established a strong relationship between the Lantern Lodge and the Pathfinder Society, Amara then championed the Society's efforts to recruit skilled agents and secure powerful artifacts by aiding the Society's entry into the Phoenix Tournament. This prestigious competition, held in Goka every 10 years, grants the winner an artifact from the storied collection of the legendary sorceress Hao Jin. This first tournament, held during the founding of the Lantern Lodge in 4713, was not the same tournament as the one that occurred 2 years ago, in 4723, and for which the Fists of the Ruby Phoenix Adventure Path was published. However, that earlier tournament, the Pathfinder Society's chosen team emerged victorious. That previous tournament effectively spotlighted the abilities of many famed Pathfinders from all over the world, and helped spread their influence across Tian Xia. Amara, the venture captain of the Lantern Lodge and the preeminent leader of the Pathfinder Society in Tian Xia, presents a cosmopolitan image, seamlessly blending Inner Sea fashion with Gokan aesthetics. She frequently pairs Avastani-style shirts and skirts with brightly colored Gokan robes or dresses. Her makeup follows traditional Gokan customs, her skin painted white, her lips a striking red, and her eyes lined with black coal. As the founder of the Lantern Lodge and a key figure in forging its alliance with the Pathfinder Society, Amara established herself as one of the most influential venture captains in the world. Since the Lodge's official recognition, her keen intellect and leadership elevated its prestige, even earning her the role of faction leader for a time. Having achieved many of her ambitions already before turning 35, Amara intends to oversee the Lodge for years to come, while keeping an eye out for promising students and potential venture captains to lead new lodges across Tian Xia. Those who mistake her refined style and composed demeanor for weakness quickly find themselves outmatched by her unwavering resolve and sharp mind. Yet those who embrace her leadership can earn a steadfast ally, one who fosters their growth and balances their interests with the well-being of the Lodge. Amara's network has grown substantially in the 12 years since the Lodge's founding. Other important member lodges of the broader Tian Xia Lantern Lodge faction include the Southern Tiger Lodge, located in Ramparasad Datang Ma. Founded by clever artificer Nihari Siriwardana, the Southern Tiger Lodge is known for its recovered clockwork relics from the necropolis of Pen Majang. Nihari has set up a workshop here to reverse engineer the artifacts, gathering others to learn what they can about the strange culture of the artificers in the deep caves of the old mountains. The Huangot Lodge. 10 years ago, Amara entrusted veteran field agent Yi Da Som, a Samsaran scholar, with the task of compiling copies of all books recovered by Pathfinder teams in Tian Xia for distribution across Galarian's lodges. Settling in Haesong Huangot, Da Som swiftly assembled a team of Pathfinders to carry out Amara's mission. Under her leadership, the Huangot branch of the Lantern Lodge has become one of the most popular destinations for Pathfinders in Tian Xia. Da Som's voice carries a soothing rhythm that draws listeners in, reinforcing her reputation as both a knowledgeable scholar and an inspiring mentor. The Zom Kulan Lodge. A few years after the Pathfinder Society's famous victory at the Ruby Phoenix tournament, a team of agents ventured into the Darklands beneath Nagajor, evacuating the ratfolk inhabitants of a cavern known as the Broken Ticker, before a cave collapse almost wiped them out. While the ratfolk of the Broken Ticker were saved, the evacuation came at the cost of the ratfolk settlement, which was left in ruins. Concerned about maintaining stability in the region, Amara established a new Pathfinder Lodge in the jungle capital of Zom Kulan. To oversee operations and monitor the resettlement efforts, she appointed the seasoned Nagaji Pathfinder Keld Si-rung as its venture captain. The Three Gates Lodge. The newest addition to the Lantern Lodge network is the Three Gates Lodge, situated on Kayajima, an island off the northwestern coast of Minkai. Recognizing the island's strategic value as a diplomatic hub, Amara petitioned Empress Amaiko Amaterasu of Minkai for permission to establish a Pathfinder Lodge within one of the region's ancient fortresses. The Empress granted her request, and Amara entrusted her protege, Kukuha Mukai, a Tengu monk, with overseeing its foundation. Upon arrival, Kukuha and her team of Pathfinders successfully communed with the island's spirits, restoring its latent magic and securing the lodge's place as a vital outpost. Tall and poised, Kukuha honed her discipline at Minkai's Gentle Breeze Monastery, where she trained for years in its monastic traditions. Each of these member Lantern Lodges follows a similar design, featuring interconnected quadrangles with a walled enclosure and with buildings set on raised platforms to enhance airflow and flexibility. The front quadrangle, richly decorated, serves as a space for meetings and study, while the central area provides living quarters. The rear section is dedicated to domestic tasks, with gardens, ponds, and stone pathways enhancing the surroundings. Amara promotes a minimalist, self-sufficient lifestyle at the lodges, where residents handle their own cooking and upkeep rather than relying on staff. While all lodges share this basic layout, they are often built using local materials: stone in Haesong and Zomkulan, lacquered wood in Minkai, and a mix of wood and clay in Datang Ma. Only the Goka Lodge includes inner sea-style rooms for visiting foreigners. The other lodges make no such concessions. Since the majority of Tian Xia's Pathfinders hail from the surrounding regions, the expectation is that foreign agents staying for extended periods will adapt to local customs, rather than lodges adjusting to them. The Way of the Kirin. In the days of the Lunghua Empire, the Kirin Company was once a faction that could be likened to a knightly order of the Inner Sea region. It once stood as a formidable force, rivaling entire states in military strength, trade, and political influence. Their support was seen as a divine endorsement, guaranteeing justice and victory. However, during the collapse of Lunghua, the Kirin Company fell, undone by their enemies' ruthless tactics. The legacy of the Kirin Company, however, was a loosely knit faction that now calls itself the Followers of the Way of the Kirin. Beholden to no particular government, but operating across the lands formerly held by the Lunghua Empire, the Followers of the Way of the Kirin are now fragmented into scattered squadrons across Tian Xia. They function more as a loose network of partisans than a unified military force, drawn together by an ethos of justice and a desire to protect the innocent. The Way has naturally found itself an ally of the Pathfinder Society and an enemy of the Golden League. Despite having fallen on hard times, their commitment to rooting out corruption in markets and governments remains unwavering. As they strive to rebuild, they accept nearly anyone into their ranks, but those who stray from their strict accords are swiftly cast out. Goka has been a city particularly welcoming to those members of the Way of the Kirin, and their fast alliance with the Pathfinder Society means that they find plenty of support in the great western city. The Goka Gazetteer. According to popular local lore, Goka's geography is steeped in legend, said to be shaped by 8 celestial dragons gambling with the stars. When one dragon, refusing defeat, fled with 2 brilliant stars, he crashed into the wall of heaven. One star embedded deep beneath a diamond knoll, home to the Gokan Palace, while the other exploded, forming Zuhong Bay. His fallen body became the jagged coastline and islands of Goka. The city itself grew from its origins along the Viridian River, with Old Town and Ivory Port preserving its oldest structures. Over time, arts and culture flourished in Xiao, city center, and Floating Lotus, while the aristocracy retreated to the exclusive districts of Dragon Head, Red Lantern, and Bluestone. The western cliffside court is now most famous for hosting the renowned Ruby Phoenix tournament. Goka's unique landmarks reflect its rich history and vibrant culture. The Guillotine and Heads are treacherous rock formations rumored to conceal smuggler tunnels to the undermarket. The Dragon's Eye, a lake that intermittently spills into the sea, fuels one of the city's most popular lotteries. The Scale River, once lined with jewelry shops, now attracts fortune seekers sluicing for lost valuables after a devastating flood. The Dragon Tail Archipelago is famed for its coral reefs and bustling floating market, while Shaylan Island once hosted the Ruby Phoenix tournament. Shaylin's Combe, a striking basalt cliff, holds a temple to the goddess of beauty and produces rare red iridescent silk. Lastly, the Nephirite River's erratic flooding has transformed Goka's pleasure district, forcing businesses to adapt with elevated foundations and indoor docking for boats, as rumors continue to swirl about the supernatural causes behind its instability. Important points of interest in the city-state include the Island of Endless Fortune. The luxurious gambling resorts on Goka's northernmost island are adorned with marble, gold, and silk. Whenever a jackpot is won at the Red Dragon Casino, fireworks light up the sky, and the record payout has reached nearly 500,000 gold pieces here. The Seven Dragon Bridge. This imposing bridge features towering spires, each one carved with 2 coiled dragons, except for the shorter westernmost spire, which bears only 1. Every year, on the anniversary of the death of the architect Zai Zan Xiao, Lady Yan Fei organizes a commemorative ceremony at the spire from which he is said to have fallen. The Icefang Eyrie. Goka is well known for its use of trained drakes. This vast rookery houses 500 drakes that call Goka home, though many more are scattered further north in the mountains. The Goka Imperial University. The city's premier institution is renowned for its focus on theoretical subjects like philosophy, history, and mathematics, and it holds rare Yixing-era texts in its collection. Recently, the faculty has begun working on a project known as the Crystal Records, aiming to preserve history using time magic, restorative spells, and other esoteric methods. Yet it is said some accidents have occurred in the process, which the university has either downplayed or denied entirely. The Tea House Revolution Memorial. Situated on a gentle hill, this tea farm honors those who perished under the oppressive regime of Imperial Lunghua. Each tea plant in the memorial symbolizes a lost life, and the staff, working alongside local leshis, produces tea used in official Chadao ceremonies. The Gokan Palace. Spanning 400 acres, the Gokan Palace contains 108 buildings within its red walls. These structures house high-ranking officials and the ruling emperor, empress, or liege of Goka, while some are reserved for foreign aristocrats, leasing them for residences, retreats, or lavish social gatherings. The Empress Yin Theatre. This iconic theatre, which has premiered classic operas and plays such as Farewell My Empress and Wukong Steals Divinity, remains one of the most prominent entertainment venues in northwestern Tian Xia. The Vault of the Golden Flame. Shaped like a nautilus shell, this fortress serves as Hao Jin's personal library and stronghold. The sprawling green area surrounding the vault has been used in years past to host portions of the Ruby Phoenix tournament. The statues of Shizuru and Tsukiyo. These colossal copper statues, standing 250 feet tall and decorated with precious metal and gems, have remained in pristine condition for millennia. Local legend suggests that during a solar eclipse, the statues face each other, opening a secret passage to the spirit world. The Grand Bank of Abadar. Gokans pride themselves on having the world's largest temple to Abadar, but the real marvel is the immense personal vault of the Ruby Phoenix housed within the bank itself. The Parliamentary Hall and Gardens. Carved from a single block of grey stone, this striking Gokan building houses the Parliament. Not a single piece of wood, brick, or nail was used in its construction. 2 massive stone lions, one black and one white, guard the entrance, and a peaceful garden here offers respite for officials between meetings. The Never-Ending Market. A circular earthen mall features a vast open-air plaza at its center. This market is known for its constantly changing offerings. Fresh produce is sold in the early mornings and evenings, while magical tomes appear in the afternoons and on alternate days. From dusk till dawn, the market is alive with locals and visitors sampling an endless variety of foods, drinks, and games. The Lantern Lodge. Pathfinders are familiar with this lodge, where venture captain Amara Lee continues to coordinate efforts between the Goka and Absalom branches of the Pathfinder Society. Balance Bridge. This symmetrical bridge, crafted from white and blue porcelain, spans 3 arched entrances leading to the river ports upstream. The Tower of the Forgotten. Once an active eyrie, this abandoned tower is now a haven for vagrants and wanderers. Many come seeking the well-known passage to the Undermarket, Goka's vast subterranean network. For those seeking illicit goods, the lawless underground holds whatever the surface city cannot provide. The Gonyan Factory. A recent addition to Goka's skyline, this alchemical factory is known for its 3 towering chimneys that emit colorful flumes throughout the day. Since its opening, locals have reported sightings of tiny fey creatures and strange glowing plants along the waterfront. The 5 Pillars Academy. Distinguished by 5 colorful porcelain pagodas, this academy is famous for its magical curriculum and its renowned classes on acupuncture, alchemy, herbalism, energy healing, and massage therapy, all of which are available to the public for a nominal fee.